You are witnessing one of those in the zone moments. I'm about to chat with Bernd Schuster, one of those ever-present players in the 80s when I was growing up, the best midfielder, but because he wasn't in the national side for long, he perhaps doesn't have the recognition of others. We are in a place with plenty of horses, because he's a lover of horses, and that will be the start of the conversation. Anyway, I'll see if I can get him into the coffee with, and then I'll tell you a few more things that have happened this week. I think I want to talk about Dembele, for certain, about Ansu Fati, poor Ansu, and a couple of things more. Let's go back into the zone. Coffee time. This is where I am, just outside Madrid. The first thing to say is that Barcelona were knocked out of the Cup, and it was full of bad news for Barcelona. First, the winners, Athletic Club, were magnificent. You should have heard Marcelino, the manager, talking after the game, where he was emotional. I think he was in tears when he saw the celebrations in the changing room, the magic of the Cup he was talking about, but he was also mentioning the fact that San Mamés, the new San Mamés, the club as well, with the love of the Cup. They deserved to win, and they did so. Barcelona were all over the place, and had the bad news as well that Ansu Fati is going to be out for at least 6 weeks. Same injury that he got and he just recovered from, and he's starting to look like it's a season to write off for him. It's about recovering this season. It's about getting well. He's a strong man, but yesterday he was very affected by it. In a way, not just because he was wearing the 10 and he was Barcelona, but it reminded me of the first Messi. There was a moment, I think it was against Chelsea, where he got injured and came off. Rijkaard gave him a big hug, and he ended up crying in the changing room. I'm pretty sure Ansu Fati was the same. Leo changed his habits, started training a little bit different, and managed to eventually get the best combination for him not to get so many injuries. In the case of Ansu Fati, well, they're going to have to study why these things happen, give him more time to recuperate, and hopefully after, it must be now over a year of mostly injured time, there'll be time to become stronger for next season and for the World Cup. On Barcelona as well, the Cup day had the explosive words from the club and from Dembele as well about his future. Very strange, I feel, that Barcelona have decided to actually push that line. Unlike Holland, I know that he's got a year and a half left, but Dortmund are not, also they're saying they're not pushing him to actually take a decision. Haaland is talking differently, but he will play, continuously play. Mbappe, exactly the same. Mbappe will play until the end of the season, even though the most likely outcome is that he leaves. With Dembele, they decide to go a different way. Barcelona want to be the victim of this circumstance, forgetting that they both sides signed a contract, and that Dembele has got the absolute right not to renew his contract, but still is willing, as he said in his own public note, willing to give everything for the side. For instance, when he came back from COVID, having not trained, he went straight into a game, and that's in his eyes a sign of commitment, the commitment that he's been accused by Mateo Alemany of not having. The Spanish Trade Union of players were actually saying, be careful, Barcelona, because you could just be walking into illegality if he doesn't play, if he's pushed and pressured to either sign another contract or leave. If he doesn't leave Barcelona, the threat of leaving him out of the squad could be illegal. It's one of those situations in which I think Barcelona are playing a poker game. Come the 1st of February, they're trying to get him on loan somewhere. Manchester United said, no, we're not that team that will have him on loan now. It seems, according to Barcelona, that Dembele has got a team for next season. Quite clearly, he's looking for a exit into the Premier League, but for next season. So come the 1st of February, if nothing has been agreed, if Barcelona haven't convinced him to release him, as another thing that Barcelona would like to do, just you can go for free, go. Dembele says not to that either. I think that the 1st of February, Xavi, who is following the line of the club, who would like to have him now, but of course he didn't travel to Bilbao and may not even play until the 1st of February, that's my guess. If he doesn't go, I think the club and the player will have to realize that he's still important for the main target this season right now, out of the Cup, in the Europa League, is obviously to stay in Champions League or to end up in Champions League positions. But I think it's only 5 victories in 13 for Xavi. There's a lot of work to do. It's not enough having youngsters and having hope. They need quality. Ferran Torres coming back from injury scored, but obviously he needs match fitness. Ansu Fati now being injured. Dembele out for now. There are things that work against Xavi. Top 4 is the target this season, that's all. The long story, long saga of Diego Carlos. A few weeks ago, Newcastle put an offer of 30 million euros. They haven't come back. Sevilla said no to that, and his buyout clause is 85 million euros, so they will want almost double that. At the moment, Newcastle are not willing to pay. They pay 3 times more his wages, but as it stands, the player will stay. And there's been no offer from any other English club. That's how things are right now. Finally, to finish this week's Coffee With, let's say goodbye to Paco Gento, 88-year-old, one of the biggest legends of football. Many of you may have not heard of him, but nobody's won as many European Cup titles. 6 in total, the first 5 of the competition, of course, but then he was the captain of a new generation of players, Real Madrid players, a legend. Anyway, he was the captain of the so-called generation, Spanish players mostly, that did very well and managed to get the 6th one for Real Madrid and the 6th one for Paco Gento. A very fast player, so fast that Di Stéfano used to ask him not to go so fast because he left all the players behind, and he ran 100 meters in 12 seconds. By the time he got to the edge of the box, everybody else was behind. Paco Gento who was humble, he was the honorary president of Real Madrid, didn't want to make a big fuss about his career, but you have to say he was one of the big legends. He tells a story of when he went to Wembley to play England versus the rest of the world, with a line-up up front that had Copa, Eusebio, Puskas, Gento himself, Denis Law, the best forward line-up, Di Stéfano too, in the history of the game, and looked around. I was in Wembley, and he just basically started crying. Emotional man, humble man, that he will greatly miss. Bernardo, ya hemos hablado de
Sí.
de todo, ¿no?
Bueno, hemos hablado de mucho, de todo no, porque nos queda...
Es verdad.
Pero hemos hablado de muchas cosas, de lo que es el fútbol, lo que es la vida. También tiene vida, aparte del fútbol, la familia, los niños.
Que hay mucho más que lo que se ve sobre el campo.
Sí,
Así
sin
que
ninguna duda.
ese es el Talking Fútbol de febrero. Gracias.